campings. It's the time when we trying to bring resources to the community, not only for the Brother Manchester community, but the region too. Okay, so thank you for allowing me to speak and introduce myself. Please, let's welcome our next speaker.
Candace.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. My name is Candace Leos Valdepeña. I'm the founder of Compton Advocates Coalition. I am a proud product of Compton. And in 2019, I realized that in order to get change, I needed to step up and get involved. And so for the past 5 years, we have been working to educate and activate the community of Compton. Um, we do that through various events, community meetings, a resource fair. We try to get all the information to people in a neutral and safe space. And so I'm going to use this as a plug. This Saturday, if you're a Compton resident, we have ballot day happening in our city. We will have several stations to help you make the most educated vote possible. This will include getting to know some candidates from local elections. So we hope that we see some of you there. It has been an honor working with Rising Communities and partnering on these various events, and I hope to see these continue into the future. It all starts with us. And so I want you all to understand how powerful you really are and how much power your vote holds. So don't take that for granted. People fought for many years to get those rights, and we cannot let that go. So thank you very much.
Right. And our last two, if we can get Jasmine, and then right after her will be Roberto. And then back to Linda. All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Chavez. I am a community organizer with SBCC, also known as Strength Based Community Change. SBCC is committed to co creating resilient and dynamic communities where individuals can access the skills they need. We also help mobilize the power of communities to fight for social justice and equity. Our commitment is to diverse and socialize networks, economic vitality, and innovate neighborhood ventures. That means giving people true hope through tools and resources that work. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roberto Rodriguez. I am a teacher at Compton Youth Build. Some of your young people are here. Compton Youth Build is a workforce and leadership development program for youth ages 16 to 29. We work with probation, parole, parenting, teens, young people in and out of the system. And so, since the impacted youth, we have many different programs. We have a construction program, a culinary program. We have a violence interruption program, healthy relationships program. So we have a number of different programs at our space. But wonderful to have you all here present. We are working with Compton Advocates and Rising Communities and many of the partners that are here today on ballot day. It's been a work of effort to really get out and get everybody engaged in the voting process, because ultimately our young people and all of us together as a community, because I was born and raised in Watts, and my young people know this. I love our community, and I want to make sure that we give back to our community in whichever way possible, because working together, working collectively, we can transform the conditions in our community. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Linda.
Okay, everybody. I'm Linda Kelly. I'm Fathers and Mothers Who Care. We've been around since 1997. We started with foster care youth because they were emancipated at 16 and a half, and that's why we believe there was a gang in Swell. So we stepped in, we did training, we did housing, and now we do all demographics. We have veterans, we have seniors. We're back now doing the Justice Impacted program. We're doing telecommunications training where they can have livable wages jobs. We worked with Career for Cause. We went to 7 different community colleges. We taught in Career for Cause, it was how to be a health worker, how to go back and be a homeless service provider. So we have fought for everyone to be peer specialists again, not just have a degree, to have lived experience in order to do this work. So we're glad to be partnering up with Rising Community. I was introduced to them in a very odd way, but that's all right. We love serving this community. We do, we're glad to be here, and we just hope that we can keep growing and that everyone that's in this community, if you have kids or youth or even adults that's coming back from being justice impacted, please come and help us and sign up, and we will get them employed. We, in our career for cause, we got 700 people employed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what we'll do is that what we'll start off with is essentially, wait, first is the introduction. Questions. So what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna pass this microphone starting off from 1 all the way down to 7. And then the question is gonna be coming from the group of people from our community here. Now, your questions, the little note card that you have, those questions are gonna be collected throughout the time. My young people over here on this side, what they're gonna be doing is they're gonna be collecting your question. And then a little bit later on, roughly, if we stay on schedule, roughly around 7:24, just to be specific, we'll start asking those very specific questions. Hopefully, our representatives here are gonna give responses that are quick and to the point to make sure that, and of course, don't go over 3 minutes. Yes, can we keep it within 3 minutes? Yes, can we agree to that? Are wonderful. I like that response. Do you all like that response? Wonderful. So let's, there will be a little timer right up there. So candidates, I will tell you when you have about, there's gonna be a little timer. And I'm gonna write down that little screen right there. Can we put the little timer up so they can see it? Don't make me start singing final countdown. You don't want to do that, but there will be a there will be a timer. So it's not me telling you there's about a minute. That's the timer telling you got about a minute. So, and if I tell you thank you so much, next candidate, I'm saying it very nicely. All right. With that being said, we will have the first question asked by our community member. And now,
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Rita Espino, y mi pregunta es, ¿cómo van a luchar por una vivienda más accesible para ingresos bajos y moderados a nivel estatal, mientras asignan recursos para los derechos de los inquilinos y se aseguran de que los miembros de la comunidad de todas las edades puedan y podamos más acceder a estas casas? Gracias.
So to translate it for Rita, her question is, how are you going to fight for more affordable housing for low to moderate incomes at the state level while allocating resources for tenants' rights and ensuring that community members of all ages can access these homes? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nilo Vega, Michelin like the tires. And our housing system is broken. There's no doubt about that. And why is our housing system broken? Because you have politicians taking donations from corporations and from special interests. So when they go up to Sacramento, they're going to be listening to the corporations. They're going to be listening to the special interests. That's why I have not taken any corporate money. I've taken any special interest money. I was raised by a single mom from Costa Rica. I know what working families have to go through. And I believe that housing is a right. So what are we going to do about it? We need housing trust. We need to have eviction protection. We need to build more housing. There's all these cities fighting us, fighting like Huntington Beach, Sacramento, fighting. They don't want to have affordable housing. We have to make that illegal. We have to have that, make sure that they have housing. We need to fight every moment. I'm a teacher. If you take Compton all the way up here to Firestone, make a right, go all the way down to State, that's where I teach. I teach continuation high school students. And my students have, they need housing. They have housing issues. So we need to help them. Some of my students go to Watts. Some of my students are in South Central. Some of my students are in Southgate. So that's the essential problem. La casa es un derecho de la gente. Tenemos que luchar para la gente, no para las corporaciones, no para las compañías. Y yo no acepto dinero de las compañías, de los developers. Yo estoy para aquí, yo voy a luchar para ustedes. Gracias.
All right, wonderful. Just remember to take notes. Also make sure if you have a question, write them down. My young people will be collecting them little by little. All right. Wait, don't start the timer yet. Don't start the timer. All right, wonderful. All right.
Good evening. It's a pleasure being here. I'm a product of this community, namely, at one time it was referred to as South Central LA versus South LA. I was born in Louisiana. I'm a first generation Southerner. I was blessed to have the opportunity to underwrite and also structure affordable housing deals. The thing that controls housing is zoning. My whole thing is basically promoting legislation that will basically provide for opportunities according to the economic stratification. I'm talking about zoning where you basically are inclusive. I'm talking about zoning that basically puts requirements on a developer to have a certain percentage of any project they build to make sure it's affordable. We're talking about not only low and moderate, I'm sorry, we're not only talking about low income, we're talking about moderate. We're talking about working class. Individuals cannot afford either rent or are not in a position to actually buy housing. I'm an advocate. My background is in advocacy. I have a diverse background in public and private service. So therefore, my whole thing is basically putting demands on a developer when he does a project to make sure a certain percentage of that project is affordable. Normally, a developer only has like 10 or 15%. I'm talking about 30%. And that can be legislated. That can be legislated through state legislation. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Lyons. Candidates, I just want to remind you all, keep the microphone up right here. Wonderful. Just to make sure that this translators up there can be able to hear what you're saying. And so it could be translated to the whole community. All right, thank you so much. All right, next candidate.
Thank you, Roberto. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Michelle Chambers. It is an honor to be here this evening. I want to thank Pastor Stafford for having us, but everyone from Watts know this is the house of Pastor Pope. Rest in peace, Pastor Pope. This is Pastor Pope. Also, we want to recognize Arturo Ibarra from Watts Century Latino Organization. I've represented Watts for 15 years, but I do want to just say again, thank you all for coming out, being engaged, and getting to know us, because we're going to be advocating to represent you in Sacramento. We know that affordable housing is an issue. We know that housing is an issue here in California. But what we have to make sure that we have is enough land. We have to utilize our resources. Number one, make sure we take advantage of the building credits that we have. We have to utilize those credits. That's what's going to bring in the builders and the developers. Number two, we have to make sure that we can afford the housing that is built in our communities, right? We can't have housing built if we can't afford to reside in them. As a councilwoman in the city of Compton, I have done just that. Not only have I bought affordable housing into our communities, but I made sure that our residents worked on those affordable housing projects. You should be able to work in those projects. You should be able to live in those affordable housing projects that you're building. Also, as a councilwoman, I made sure that we provided home ownership resources to our residents. Credit scores, bought in Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, taught them about credit, bought in banks and brokers to ensure that we had down payment assistance. That is what we need to do, is be able to afford these houses and make sure that affordable. When I go to Sacramento, I want to make sure that affordable looks to us what it looks like to them, because $2,500 a month is not affordable in this district. So we got to make sure that we were advocating for affordable housing, that we're also including jobs in our community, that we're making sure we can afford those housing to reside in those properties, and making sure that you get the tax credit from those properties. Again, I'm Michelle Chambers, and I'm your candidate for California State Senate. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Next candidate.
The next candidate is Laura Richardson. Thank you for having me, all of you tonight. And I want to acknowledge Pastor Stafford, who's doing double duty of helping with the timing up here. You know, the true sign of a church is when the church opens the doors and everybody comes in. So Pastor, thank you for your leadership and all of the organizations that are here today that are helping to rebuild our community and make it even stronger. The question, I want to restate it because we've heard several people talk, but I think the question that was asked is, what are you going to do to help to add affordable housing in our community and to deal with some of those challenges? A couple things that I would like to focus on. I'm the only person here who's running for this particular seat that has served as a staff member on the local, state, and federal level, meaning I've worked on policy, I've written policy. I'm the only person here on this stage who served as an elected official on the local, state, and federal level. So I've actually written policy, had it signed by governors and the president. Why is that important? I'd like to work on, Nilo here, he correctly talked about a housing trust fund. What a housing trust fund does is, let's be honest, how many people in here were working more than one job and it's still tough to afford a place, right? We've got kids watching, brothers and sisters watching each other because mom and dad have to work 2 and 3 jobs. So we need to make sure what a housing trust fund can do, or a housing bank, is that, let's say a house costs $300,000 and you can only afford 150, the state would have a housing fund that would pay that second on your behalf. And that second would be paid either when you pay off the house earlier than 10 years, or when you accrue equity when money builds up in that home. I say if we can have film subsidies, which I support, because we want to make sure that the film industry stays here and we have people working and they're not just going to Canada and Atlanta. If we can have film subsidies, why can't we have housing subsidies? Why can't we have student housing? Why can't we have workforce housing, teacher housing? We have a young man here who's a teacher who you can tell is inspired and is inspiring his young people. We need to make sure that housing is affordable, because right now it's not, frankly. And the reason I believe we see more of the homelessness on the streets is because housing is not affordable. I look forward to your support. I'm Laura Richardson, and I'm running for the California Senate District 35. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Trishelle Marie Williams, and I am running with the mission to transform lives and to renew a sense of love and collective responsibility in society. And we don't hear many elected officials or folks in government talk about love. But I think that's a missed opportunity. We should be talking about love. We should expect our leaders to talk about love. Those who want to serve need to be grounded in love. What does that look like? That looks like the values of transparency. We love when we are openly communicating with one another. That looks like equity. We love when we are seeking to address specific needs with tailored solutions. And that also looks like accountability. We love when we are holding ourselves to the commitments that we make to each other. Transparency, equity, and accountability, those are the values that I've lived out my life professionally and personally. And those are the values that I'm taking with me, hopefully in service to you all in the state Senate in Sacramento. So the question was about affordable housing and what to do about that and tenants' rights. I understand this issue intimately because I've faced homelessness twice in my own life. And it's important that we have leaders with lived experiences that reflect these issues. That's what I'm offering. And so what can we do to address it? Transparency. We can have more transparency on the lack of affordable housing that is being developed. Like, we know it innately, right? We feel it, but we need to see the numbers so that we can start to hold developers, hold legislators, hold our departments accountable, local jurisdictions accountable. So we need that level of transparency. Second, in equity, We need to make sure that we are enforcing robust enforcements for tenants' rights. I think every time that you rent a home or renew a lease, you should be given a paper with your rights as a tenant. That's something that we don't have to wait for. That's something that we can pass right now. And from an accountability standpoint, you know, our local jurisdiction, our local leaders aren't being held accountable for the lack of housing, affordable housing that's being developed. And we need to change that. We need to have someone whose sole job is to hold the local jurisdiction accountable. That's how we're going to make a difference. We're going to make sure that everyone has that right to have a roof over their head. No one should be sleeping in their cars. Students should be struggling. Our seniors shouldn't be struggling. Our veterans shouldn't be struggling. And I look forward to serving you all and making a difference in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Albert Robles, and I'm proud to be here with you. I want to thank all the organizations for putting this together, but most importantly, I want to thank all of you for taking the time from your busy schedule with the threat of a major storm coming in, and you all coming here to listen to all of us, make our pitch to you as to why each of us individually believes we would be the best choice for State Senate District number 35. Why do I think I would be the best choice for Senate District number 35 in addressing the question? Well, look at my achievements and accomplishments as the former mayor of Carson. I was mayor of Carson from March of 2015 to January of 2021. And during that time, I did precisely what was asked in the question and addressing the issues. One, in Carson, we built the first, my idea, ask anybody in Carson, we built the very first affordable housing for veterans. It is shameful that in the greatest country on earth that we have veterans that are homeless. And we had veterans that were homeless in Carson. And when I became council member, it's like, well, if we're going to build housing, we should build housing for our veterans. And we did that. And you drive by that housing development at the corner of Figueroa and Carson Street, you look at it, you would want to live there because it doesn't look like affordable housing. We have to respect all individuals, but especially our veterans. Then what else did I do? We built more affordable housing for struggling artists. Drive by the facility. Whose idea was it? Mine. It's a fact. Now, I didn't do it alone. I proposed it, and the entire city council got behind it, and we brought it to fruition. But you drive by it, it's a beautiful facility. You would want to live there. So that's number one. When we build these affordable housing developments, they need to be places where everybody wants to live, not where everyone's afraid to go, not where nobody wants to be, but where everybody wants to live. But more importantly, we built workforce housing. Drive by it. It's right there in Carson, corner of Avalon and Carson Street, right across the street from City Hall. Hundreds of units. Drive by it. You would want to live there. Why? Because it's beautiful. It's got a pool, all the amenities you would want, and it's workforce housing. But we also built market rate housing. Drive by it. They're there in Carson, right across the street from Cal State Dominguez. Beautiful homes. Oh, thank you.
Very passionate, very passionate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next candidate.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Un placer estar aquí. My name is Alex Monteiro. And of course, I'm running for the state senate like these wonderful, beautiful gentlemen and ladies right here. But let me tell you something. I'm not going to brag, but when a congresswoman, former congresswoman says she's the only one who have done stuff, that's not correctly. Because I'm a council member for the city of Hawthorne. I'm on my second term. And I used to be on a school board for 12 years. Let me give you a story about it. In 2009, I was not a council member. I was just a nonprofit director, the city of Hawthorne was going to send almost $5 million back to the federal government because they didn't want to build affordable housing. Because we got politicians in these communities that do not want affordable housing because they said we didn't want poor people in our community. So I went and fought for that money. I wrote grant. I called Congresswoman Maxine Water. I said, I need that money to stay right here in our community. And I went and I purchased buildings to do affordable housing. So since 2009, I've been doing affordable housing in Hawthorne. Okay, and people are paying only 30% of their income. And that is what we need to go to Sacramento and fight and say, nobody should pay no more than 30% of their income into housing. Because people, I'm telling you, I'm an immigrant. I came to this country 40 years ago. I have done forklift job, jewelry jobs. Then I became a teacher. I went to college. And then I came to Cal State Dominguez. I did a master's in education with counseling. And that's what I ran nonprofits because my goal is to teach young people and families that this is the great country in the United States. And we need to make sure that we have education. First-time home buy program. That is what you're going to get out of poverty, education and housing. Your first home is the key to get you out of poverty. And that is what I've been fighting to give people $140,000 for their down payment, first-time home buyer program. I have worked with Hawthorne, with Faith organization in LA to give people money to buy their first home. So that is what we need to fight in Sacramento. Make sure that we bring resources, public and private, to build equity, housing. Again, only 30%. Do not let them cheat you and create blended model. So I'm Alex Montero. Vote for me because I'm going to deliver.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Linda, next question.
Come on. So our next question is going to be given by one of our students here. This is one of his students, and I'm so proud to introduce he's a community advocate.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Anthony DiCipulo, and I am a resident of Senate District 35. My question is, given that the region has been historically, economically marginalized, what is your understanding of the region's history and diversity, and how will that inform your work to bring living wage and sustainable job opportunities for residents in Senate District 35?
Could you rephrase that question again?
Given that the region has been historically economically marginalized, what is your understanding of the region's history and diversity, and how will that inform your work to bring living wage and sustainable job opportunities for residents in Senate District 35?
How many of you have heard of the speed train? Speed train. California is building a system that's comparable to Japan and in Europe, where you have a train that goes like 200 miles per hour. That project is worth $138 billion. The question is, how does it benefit this community? It does not. You have Metro Rail, you have local transportation, and so you have a rich pool that is employment-based. It's not as much a living wage as having opportunity to get a job. I would promote a situation in which largely U.S. citizens would benefit in the context of 1, transportation, 2, standard of living, and 3, access to public transportation that is integrated with the state and local government. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you. Can you ask the first part of your question again for me, please? Just to make sure I have
Given that the region has been historically economically marginalized, what is your understanding of the region's history and diversity? And how will that inform your work to bring living wage and sustainable job opportunities for residents in Senate District 35?
Thank you, thank you. Okay, just to be, if you remember, I am the candidate who, I've had over 32 years of government experience. I represented this entire district for 15 years. I don't know how many has been past the 91 freeway behind me, but I've worked in this community of Watts, Jordan Downs, helped build the developments, brought in the stores in the market. But what we have to do is include our community on access to livable wages. We did just that here in this community. If you remember, I was part of the board. I served on the board of the Watts is Worth It program. That program made sure all that developing of housing, job opportunities, we included our community on all of those projects. We had women, men, and even the over 18 to 21 project who worked on the streets. I was a part of the Caltrans project of hiring and employment. As your senator, we have to make sure we include our community with livable wages. The highest income in our district, just a per capita, according to the last census, was $70,000 a year. And we know that we cannot afford $70,000 a year to live, childcare, food, utilities, and et cetera. California is costly to live in. So what I would do as your senator is to make sure that we not only create jobs, but we retain employment opportunities, including those who are returning from incarcerated facilities. See, we forget about those individuals, but we have to remember we have to utilize building and access to livable wages, job creation through your state. Right now, through Department of Transportation, or excuse me, Caltrans, right now through agriculture, right now through even corrections. There are employment opportunities right in your community. So as we build up our community, we hire in our community, we retain our community. But what happened is your senator, I won't let businesses leave California. We lost a lot of businesses to Texas, to Arizona, and to Canada. We have to make sure we retain, keep our job market, keep our economy stable. And as your senator, that's what I'm going to do, is to make sure that not only that we have affordable housing, but we also have livable wages. And that is what we need in a senator who is experienced. Again, I've served everywhere from the White House all the way down here to the California and the local sector as your council member. And I share that because I've worked at the table of the budgets and appropriations, well aware of how to get access to our community. I have worked on the work to work projects, well aware of how to get employment opportunities for our community. I've worked on a healthcare board, serving in our community, making sure we keep good quality doctors in our community. So I have 32 years of government experience that I bring to this seat, have worked in every level of government, but more importantly, I've served this district consistently, the only candidate here for 15 years, and been and watched the whole time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you very much. The question that you started off with is you asked us, what is your familiarity of this community and the impacts and the things that have happened here? So I'm going to start off at the Watts, what some people call the Watts Riot and other people call the Watts Rebellion. You know, history tells us that one of the reasons why people rebelled was because of the lack of services, the lack of programs. That's why Martin Luther King Hospital was built, because one of the number one problems that the community raised was that here we had this huge community and there wasn't appropriate health care. So my knowledge of this community, and it's a community that I love and I've served and I've represented for quite some time, is that this is a community that's rich in people who go home and who take care of their families and want to do well, but they also want a fair chance. Now, your next question had to do with, based upon our community, how can we help people to become more employed? How many of you have, like, you bought a TV from Best Buy or you have a cable company and you call for help and the person who answers the phone isn't in this state and is not in this country, right? So what's wrong with that? Why don't we have, one of the things I'd like to bring forward and pass in legislation is that if a company is going to have products, they need to have customer service centers in the state of California. So when you ask for a supervisor, someone will actually come on the phone and will help you and assist you. Why is that important? That's a very important entry-level position that people can do and you can move up within the company. So that's one area of what I would do. The second thing is look at when we built the 105 freeway, which is right here. One of the things people here have been talking about is more jobs. Well, with the city of Los Angeles and with the county of Los Angeles, we already have what we call as a project labor agreement. And a project labor agreement means that a certain amount of people who live in this community need to work on those projects. But what's happening is we have different labor unions, and we need to make sure that the labor unions are working in conjunction with our high schools and our community colleges so that we can get people as a part of those groups. So when those jobs become available, like the SoFi Stadium, like the Clipper dome that's being built, that we can make sure that people are ready to get those jobs. Excellent question. Thank you very much. Laura Richardson.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Hello, everyone again. So the question was about the history of disparities and the diversity of this community in this district, and how that should inform what we plan to do for economic stability and economic freedom. Well, as former Congresswoman Laura Richardson mentioned, yeah, there was the Watts riots here. But before that, we have to actually acknowledge, I think it's really important to acknowledge the genocide and enslavement of indigenous people on this land. I think that's really important to acknowledge. We can't erase history, right? Everyone's history matters here. And yes, the demographics have certainly changed. Earlier on, this district, you could see a much higher percentage of African Americans here. But then not having economic opportunities, a whole host of different issues, you see the displacement of Black folks. And the landscape and the demographics have definitely changed. We have opened our doors. We are a sanctuary state, and I'm proud that we're a sanctuary state so that we can bring immigrant communities into our country. This is a nation founded by immigrants. And people tend to want to forget that, and when it's convenient for them, want to put a stop on it. And I don't believe that that's right. So given this history, what does our economic situation need to look like? And I believe that the Watts riots really started from an issue of a lack of economic opportunities. It was a lack of economic opportunities, pitting communities against each other. That, oh, the Asian community can set up shop in a Black neighborhood, but where are the Black-owned communities? Where are the Latino-owned communities and services? So we need to stop vying for economic crumbs. We need to acknowledge the value that each of our communities have, the Black community, the Latino community, the Asian community. And we need to build local economies that are not extractive. We need to build local economies that actually help solve some of the greatest issues that we have. Why can't we have doulas? Why can't we start certifying more doulas so we can address the issue of infant mortality rate? Why can't we have local farms, more local homeland farms to address the food apartheid that we all live in? These are the sorts of economies that we need that can help solve problems, put real economic stability, access to all of our families, and making sure that we have access to capital that can help drive and fund these enterprises. So when I get to Sacramento, those are the things that I'm going to focus on: entrepreneurship, making sure that we have minority-led banks that will lend and give access to capital for our communities in this district. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you. I'll get to this question, but I want to finish the response to my first question. I was cut short because I had a lot more to say about it. For example, the veterans housing, how much do they pay a month? About $350 a month. Drive by it, beautiful place. Now, what I did not get to talk about was what I did for renters. One, I believe I'm the only one up here that ever worked for a nonprofit that fought and represented renters, number one. Number two, in Carson, we have mobile home parks. I'm proud to say that I'm the only mayor in the last 20 years that voted no to the closing of a mobile home park. Number two, in Carson, we fought and got legislation changed when I was on the council in Sacramento. So next time a developer wants to change a mobile home park and close it and develop it, he has to get the approval of the residents that live there. Imagine that. Look it up. Who did that? Carson led that effort, which then brings me to the question. I'm very proud of the fact that I grew up in Carson. Attended schools there from kindergarten at Carson Park, because Carson, I'm proud to say, is the most diverse community on the face of the earth. Whenever I travel anywhere around the world, I always tell people I'm not from LA, I'm from Carson. They ask where that is. I say it's by LA. And why I'm so proud of it, because Carson is 25% African American, 25% white, 25% Asian, and about, because Latinos, it's about 35% Latino, because it's, they're multiracial Latinos. And that's the way it's been since the 1980 census. And that's where I grew up. As mayor of Carson, I represented the entire city, that diversity. And that's what this community needs. You're asking, you need better representation. You need someone to lead you with a proven track record. Drive to Carson and then come home. With all due respect, I never lived up here. I grew up in Carson. But driving here, I was coming with my assistant. I was driving, I saw trash all over the streets, lights that were not working, streets that were dark. You won't find that in Carson, because when I was mayor and we issued a new trash contract, we demanded that trash hauler clean our alleys, clean our streets. Drive to Carson. See for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
All right, again, Alex Montero, and thank you for that question, because we know this community, especially District 35, is very diverse community. You have almost 1 million people in the District 35. 42% are Latino, 27% African American, and the rest are Asian, Caucasian, and Pacific Island. So diversity is very important. When you elect somebody, make sure you elect somebody that's going to represent all, not just a few. And make sure that you're going to bring job to the communities. And that is where, when you think about it, most of these cities, especially west of here, used to be a sundown city. That means 5 o'clock, no black or brown should be leaving or stay in that community. So we fought for those rights. And that is why we need to fight for those jobs, good paying union jobs that pay very high wages with salaries that can feed your family. Because a lot of you have to travel maybe sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours. You cannot even leave the same community that you are working because you cannot afford to live there. So District 35, for example, we are the 6th largest manufacturing industry in California. Number 6, but you don't feel on your pocketbook because we got this corporate America that's not paying good money. So that is where, when I became council member for the city of Hawthorne, the first thing we do when SpaceX wanted to come to Hawthorne, we said, you need to hire 80% of the people have to come from Hawthorne. And that's why we partner with the South Bay Workforce Investment Board to hire those people in the community. The same thing, the Tesla Design Center, the Amazon Ring. We want to make sure that jobs stay in our community. And that's what we need to fight in Sacramento, that all the jobs, not just the District 35, across this nation, across California, we need jobs in America. We need jobs right here in Compton, in Gardena, in Hawthorne, in Inglewood. And that is what, when we talk about this SoFi Stadium, the Cleveland Stadium, some of the union members complained that they were not giving those jobs because they live in the community, but they brought people from outside the community. And I told them, go to your council member, call Congresswoman, fight and tell, we need us to do this job. If they're coming to take our tax dollar, our money, we need to fight for those jobs. And that's what I'm going to fight for you in Sacramento, because jobs is important. But it has to be very good paying jobs, not minimum wage. Because believe me, if I was for me, I'll give you $30 per minimum wage in California.
Thank you so much. Last candidate. If you haven't turned in your question, please put up your little question. Put up your question if you haven't done so. There's a question right over there, so pick it up. Can we get that question? Thank you so much.
I drive through Watts every day to get to work. I go up Compton and then make a right on Firestone. This is a very diverse community. Go to St. Lawrence Brindisi for the best pupusas you've ever had. Go to the Watts Cafe. I mean, the Watts Cafe, they're closed now, but they're still open for catering. Go ahead and support them. Go to the Oaxaca Cafe. Go to the Watts Library. This is a dynamic community. I'm very aware of it. As a history teacher, I tell my students, this used to be Rancho Tajuana, used to be a Latino rancho. Then the railroads came, and it was a very mixed community. Simon Rodia, who made the Watts Tower, was an Italian immigrant. He used to walk up and down the tracks all the way down to Wilmington to pick up the things for the Watts Tower. Then I teach my students about the Great Migration, African Americans coming from the South for the opportunity over here. And so you had African American population. Then in 1965, you had the Immigration Act, which banned racism as far as immigration coming. So you have more Latinos coming. So now you have this very diverse community. So we need the right to housing. We need the right for health, and we need the right to education. That's my main platform. We need a livable wage. And that's why I've accepted absolutely no donations from corporations or special interests, because I'm going to be fighting for the working class families. I know what it's like to go from paycheck to paycheck. And by the way, let's give a hand to the student that came up here. He's an AP student, he's AP US History, AP World, and it takes a lot of courage to come up here. Thank you very much.
All right, wonderful. So now we're going to move on to community questions. So Jasmine will be the first community question.
Good evening. What do you propose to improve the community with educational programs for children, youth, families in our communities? Okay.
Thank you.
What do you propose to improve the community with educational programs for children, youth, families in our communities?
Thank you for that question. Just talk about what we're doing in our communities. I was glad to be part of a lot of programs here in this community, such as at Markham Middle, such as at Jordan High School, where we brought in the economic program with other banks and other lenders and taught our students about the importance of financial freedom. We also had Safe Passages program, but also we have to look at our funding resources in Sacramento, how our schools are funded. We have to make sure that our children have access to quality education. Number two, we have to make sure there is a certain amount that's put away right now for the budget of Sacramento for education and vulnerable communities. Because we are the communities and we have great teachers. I was endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the only candidate here. But what I'm saying is that we have to make sure we access that $1.5 billion of access of funding for our vulnerable communities for English learners. We have to make sure we have the financial stability of our students. We also have to make sure that we can feed our students. We have a hunger program here in the state that is not trickling down here to our communities. We also have a program for mental health in our schools, which is extremely vital and critical. But what we also have to make sure is that we keep our communities funded, not only through education, but also through services. Right now, we have a program here in the community of Watts that is funded with Children's Institute. There's one here and there's one in Compton. There's one Compton, Watts, and Willowbrook. And in that program for education, they worked with the district attorney's office and teaching how we teach our children anger management. A lot of our children in our communities are angry. They have issues because of what they see in our community. So we have a educational component of mental health subsidies for our programs, but also working with the Children's Institute networks, make sure we have viable after-school programs. We need after-school tutoring programs. We don't have enough here in California. Do you know that currently, right now, there are a wide percentage of students who still cannot read in our community, who still cannot add? We need to bring back cursive writing, for Jesus Christ. I mean, come on, can't balance a checkbook. So as your senator, I want to make sure that we prepare our students not only for the future, but make sure that we are competitive with other communities, with other nations. So we're ready for the job market, so we can prepare them to be accepted at any college or university that they want to be accepted to. And more importantly, is that after they do graduate, that we have free college here in California. That's what we have to remember. So as your senator, I will make sure that I provide all those wraparound services. And that's what I just spoke about, all wraparound services here in this district, in our communities, addressing our mental health, addressing our hunger for our children, addressing our resources for our children, job creation for our children, just like Vernon Day down the street. They go to school half a day, then they go intern somewhere within a business, in a nonprofit corporation, or for a union, or for a business. We have to prepare our students for the future, because we cannot wait. We have to start right now in early childhood centers. We have to make it affordable. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent question, Jasmine, and thank you for participating tonight. She brought up a very important question. What is it that we plan on doing to help with education? And you actually mentioned several different levels. You know, there was a long time, there was a work to be able to have universal pre-K, meaning free. Children up until kindergarten would be able to receive that education. I believe we need to start sooner than pre-K. You know, when you're talking about right before first grade, a lot of kids are already behind when you're talking about 6 years old. We need to start at 3 years old. And another reason why that's important, most of the people we have, parents, they're working. And so when you talk about where are they going to receive good quality care, where their kids can be learning and can be enjoying and advancing, it's very important. So I actually support universal pre-K going all the way from 3 years old going up. Second of all, I'm going to start, Ms. Chambers here. She mentioned, I certainly concur and agree that we should have community college that's free, certainly. We need to make sure that all students have an opportunity to advance. I was on the Long Beach City Council for 6 years, and we had a program, and they still have it today. If you successfully graduated from Long Beach Unified School District, you were able to get into the community college. You were guaranteed you'd be able to get in. And then if you graduated from Long Beach Community College, you were able to get into Cal State Long Beach. So we need to make sure that students, and not everyone's going to be a perfect test taker. Sometimes you just need an opportunity to be able to complete school, successfully do it. Then they should be able to certainly advance. And now let's talk about the middle ages there. When I was in school, we had wood shop, we had homemaking, we had music, we had sports. I went to a school, unfortunately, where we didn't have a track. We didn't have our own basketball gymnasium. And so what happened was we were always kind of playing from behind, because here I was practicing at a gymnasium that wasn't my home gym. So my home games were just as hard as my visitor games, right? We didn't have a track. So we need to make sure, and I think people are beginning to understand, that the development of our young people are beyond the books. They also include art, music, these other things that help us to learn and to interact. And finally, let me say this. I am completely opposed when we talk about education of changing history. Our history is what it is. We need to learn it, we need to face it, and we need not to repeat it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Yeah, so education is extremely important. There's so many of these issues that we're facing in Senate District 35 that really hit close to home. I've overcome and have experiences that reflect some of these deepest issues, and education is one of them. I'm proud to say that I'm from Willowbrook. I'm from not too far from here, from a community that used to be there, no longer there, called Ujima Village. And my mom She attended LA Southwest College. And at 3 years old, she would take me with her. And so she instilled very early on the importance of education. And I knew that that was something that I wanted for myself. But unfortunately, she looked around and saw that this district doesn't have the funding that we need to help us thrive, to help improve our circumstances. So she made the sacrifice to move us away from our culture, away from our family, into an area that had more resources for education. And this is not right. You should not have to leave your family and leave the community that you love, that you're from, in order to get access to quality education and well-funded education. That's not right. Right now, 25% of our state's budget goes towards K through 12 education. But how many of us know where all of that money's going? We don't. So what we need is transparency. We need more transparency on where all of this money is going at each school level. Right now, they're focused on allocation of the funding. We need to make sure that it's more equitable. Yes, we need funding to our English learners, but we also need to focus on the fact that Black students are the lowest performing right now. So we need to make sure that we're providing for everyone so that everyone can achieve at high levels in the education system. And we need to prepare our students for the workforce or for entrepreneurship. I am a CPA, a certified public accountant, and I only became an accountant because after watching a movie. I was not prepared. I was not exposed to this system that gave me access to stability in my life. And that's sad. That means we're not doing right by our students. So we need to connect them early on, expose them to what's possible, and make sure that we are providing the resources that this district deserves. And that's what I'm going to do because I have faced this myself. So you can trust that when I get to Sacramento, that I'm going to fight for this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you. Education is critical, but I'll just take a couple seconds to finish up my response to the last question. Sorry, because it's part of my success. And you want your state senator to be successful. And how do you judge and determine whether or not someone's going to be successful? To see whether or not they have been successful. So as the mayor, I fought, again, I don't mean to be egotistical here, but it's just a fact. I fought and made Carson a charter city and incorporated into this charter the most aggressive economic development program anywhere in the state. City Council, a few months ago in Carson, just passed an economic development project that's going to create thousands of jobs based on language that's in that charter that I put together. And I'm very proud of that. With respect to education, I'm very proud of the fact that I attended public schools, LAUSD, from kindergarten all the way to the 12th grade. My father and mother only had an elementary school education. And their greatest hope for me and my sister was that one day I would graduate from high school. Well, needless to say, because of their guidance, their love, I exceeded their expectation. I received a scholarship to go to the University of Colorado. I then got my master's degree from USC, where I was a USC merit. See what happens. So his future is set. But I went to school in LAUSD in the 80s. And with all due respect, I know I'm in a church here, but with all due respect to the pastor, sometimes there is no other language but direct language. Our school system is fucked up. And that's just a fact. Not all schools are equal. Schools in certain communities are worse than others. The system needs to change. The system needs to change. If you want change, vote for the agent of change. Vote for the agent who has proven that he can be effective at bringing about change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
All right, thank you for that question. Believe me, education is my passion. That's what I went to Cal State Dominguez and got a master in education with counselor. I had taught Spanish in public school. So I believe in public education. But let me tell you about Sacramento, right? Because the education funding is through this proposition called Proposition 98, because I was on the school board for 12 years. And California, we almost on the bottom of the pit, number 44 out of 50 states when it comes to fund public education. So we have a long way to go to put more money into education. And our legislators in Sacramento have not done that. Because when it comes to the budget crisis, deficit, the first thing they cut is education and healthcare. So we need to start. We need to stop the bleeding, right? So that is where we need to put more money into public education because like a lot of my colleagues have said, we need free tuition to community college and four-year college to US, UC systems. Because education is going to take kids out of the street, not get involved in gangs. And that is what, when I became the school board member, you know why? Because I tried to open preschool, university preschool, funded by LA First 5 LA. It was giving millions of dollars. They told me, we don't want preschool in our campus because we don't want poor people in our campus because it was going to be free, 3 and 4-year-olds. So I went and wrote the grant and brought those preschools. And then what I decided in 2007 to run for school board, and I helped them bring 4 preschool into their campus. Because children 3 and 4, that is when their brains is developed. As that is when they're going to get things right. And that's what I told the Secretary of Education, Lamar Alexander, in Washington, D.C. I said, if you fund university preschool, we'll have less incarceration, less children, less money for jails. Like what the governor have did, more money to jail than education. Okay, so that is what we need to do. Stop, 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 stop. And that is where, when I became a school board member with my superintendent and my colleagues, we create middle school academies. We create a business academy, a fine art academy, and a STEM academy, that is math and science. So those kids could begin to understand the benefit of a potential professional to become a business partner, to create their own business, to become entrepreneurship. And that's what, back in 2005, I wrote grant to bring the 21st century learning centers for the after school program. Federal government, $3 for the kids to get free preschool and after school program so they will not be on the street.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
With all due respect, Mr. Robles, UCLA is the best school in the nation. Go Bruins. I'm a trustee at El Camino College, and I've walked the talk. We have technology courses for the students. We have vocational courses for the students. We opened up a Black Student Success Center. We have the MESA program, which provides community services and services for community students to get them into engineering. And guess what? We already have free education, 2 years of free education for community college. And I want to expand that to the CSU system and for the university system. So, Watts es un pueblo lindo, pero necesitamos más servicio, necesitamos más educación de tecnología. Gracias.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
I'm gonna take you on a personal journey. I grew up on 65th in Vermont. I went to Washington High. When I got to Washington High, I approached a student who was in a class with me, and I noticed her schedule said X and Y. If you're black, you went Y. If you are Asian and white, you went X. That means that you were acclimated towards college. I entered UCLA on something called the High Potential Program. And that was a program for students who did not qualify according to grades and according to standards. When I was at Washington High, in homeroom, they would go over the last way to say SAT, ACT. I thought it was a fraternity. I went to play baseball, so I go to Cal Poly and I'm talking to the coach. So the coach says, well, did you take the SAT? I said, no. What is that? In high school, I had a biology teacher who asked me, well, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be an electronic engineer. He said, well, it's better to be a first grade janitor than a third grade engineer. That was my experience. Graduate from Washington. Everybody went to UCLA. I didn't want to go there because everybody was going to UCLA. Because of the high potential program, I entered UCLA and they took 50 Blacks and 50 Hispanics. They did not have a certain type of educational background to see whether we could succeed. I was blessed to graduate from UCLA, but also student body president at UCLA. My experience in terms of education was one of always being denied the opportunity. My wife, who passed away, she was Afro-Latina, and I was unfortunately put in a position where I had to raise two young kids. I sacrificed my professional career for them to be educated. I'm glad to say one ended up at the University of Washington, ended up playing professional football. He also basically is now a executive at a UK company. One area that is the 800-pound gorilla, artificial intelligence and automation. If we don't prepare our kids for STEM, namely science, technology, engineering, and math, we can pretty much forget it. I'm promoting a program that's based upon economics and also based upon opportunity from an educational standpoint, or for students to hopefully not experience what I experienced. My whole thing is pushing an agenda that, again, is based upon science, technology, engineering, and math in order to take advantage of jobs that are coming by way of the speed train that is, I'm sorry, the speed train, which is the next thing on the agenda. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next question. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron, and I'm a first-time voter this year. And so my question is, what are your thoughts on immigration reform?
Good question, Aaron. You're going to make it. Immigration reform. First of all, when I served in Congress, what I would do often is in churches just like this, I would do immigration workshops because a lot of times people didn't feel safe going to government entities, worrying about getting deported and so on. And so we helped well over 500 people to get their citizenship. So the first step, I think, is for people who are here, and we need to make sure that we're providing the access to the resources. When I did immigration workshops, it didn't cost people a dime. You didn't have to pay $10,000 for a lawyer who didn't get it done. That's an inside joke. I'm not talking about Mr. Robles, not at all. But we need to make sure that we have workshops that can help people to become citizens. What do I think about immigration reform? I think that we need to consider immigration is not just immigration from Mexico or from Honduras. There's also immigrants from Canada. There's immigrants from Africa. There are immigrants from all over this world, people who want to come to this beautiful country that we have. And immigration is broken. It should not take a person 10 years to become a citizen to come here to the United States. So we have to fix the first problem, which is immigration. When a person goes to an embassy or seeks to come here to the United States, They should be able to get their paperwork processed in a timely fashion. They shouldn't have to risk their family to go across rivers and go over chains. They should be able to legally and quickly become a citizen. So I support fixing the problem on the front end, which is our immigration system is not working. Finally, Aaron, you're getting ready to vote. I am a strong supporter and I actually voted for DACA. I don't think anybody here has voted for DACA because it was federal legislation. And so I support that students who are here, if your parents came here and you were born here or you weren't born here, you should still have access to all the rights of any other young people. Congratulations, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks, Aaron.
So, what do I think about immigration reform? Well, I have to say I'm a pretty big fan. My husband is actually an immigrant. We met in college. We are college sweethearts. We've been married 11 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter. Yes. And I'm grateful that he was able to come to this country. But so many people don't have that privileged experience that he had. He immigrated from Canada. And we need to have equity in the immigration experience. As I mentioned before, this country is a nation of immigrants, but we like to cut off the history of that and try to weaponize the immigrant experience in this community for political gain. And that is so wrong. And so, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we are providing resources. As a woman of faith, I am a believer and follower of Jesus Christ. And I believe it's fundamental to my belief system that we need to welcome people who are looking for support into our country. I believe that that's our responsibility. And so I believe that we need to make it easier for folks to become citizens. We need to broaden the pathways to citizenship. They make it so narrow. I believe that folks who come here and use the visa system are often forced into the same jobs and working in employment that they actually don't want to be in because they're scared of losing their visas. These are colleagues that I've worked with in corporate America have expressed those concerns to me. And so I've heard what it's like, and that's wrong. We need to make it more accessible for folks, whether whether you're an immigrant on a visa status or not. Everyone deserves equitable opportunities to make sure that they can provide for themselves and for their families. That's what people are here to do, right? So why are we making it so difficult? And so I believe that we need to be more loving and caring in how we dealing with the immigrant population in this country. And so that's what I will do when I'm in office. We need to make sure that we have um, standards that, even when seeking a job. I've heard from some of my colleagues that they see jobs that are listed and they're not sure whether the employer will take visa holders. That's wrong. That should be something that's easily stated on all job descriptions, right? Whether or not someone who is not a citizen can apply and has a fair opportunity to access these jobs. Everyone deserves fair access, and that's what I'm going to fight for: transparency, equity, and accountability for our immigrant population. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Hi, I got a text that I should answer the question, stay within the time limit, and not curse. So our immigration system is effed up. And that's a fact. Think about it. We have students that come from all over the world to get master's degrees in engineering, PhDs in computer science, and all kinds of high-tech industries. And then their visa expires and we kick them out. Instead of staying here to generate the jobs, the technology, and bring the science here where they're already, where they want to be. Their visa expires and we kick them out. That system is effed up. In Washington, D.C., we have a system where Republicans want something on immigration. Democrats don't want it. Democratic president, Joe Biden, says, okay, Republicans, I'll give it to you. He's willing to sign it. Now the Republicans don't want it because they want to use immigration as a scare tactic to get you all scared that immigrants are going to flood in and take jobs that most people don't want anyways. Like picking fruit. My dad picked fruit. He came here in the Bracero program. You go into these fields, you're lucky to find a handful of US citizens working in these fields, picking the fruit, the food that we all enjoy every day. But if we fix the immigration system, then neither party has an issue. Again, immigration is a federal issue, but here in California, people run on scaring others that immigrants are not our friends, that immigrants are out to get us. When in fact, there's a movie, Imagine a World Without Mexicans. Imagine a world where you don't have immigrants picking your fruit, cleaning the dishes, cleaning the homes. Who's going to do those jobs? Now, our immigration system is effed up and it needs to be fixed, but that's the federal government's responsibility.
All right, thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you, Aaron, for that question. Yes, immigration reform, is overdue, right? So they've been playing politics for a long time, but it's overdue. So they need to do something, like the DACA, the Dreamers, right? The B1 visas, all those kind of things. But let me tell you my own story, right? Because I'm an immigrant. I came to this country 40 years ago. My mom, my dad, we went from Africa to Europe. I have lived in Lisbon, in Spain, before I came to this country. I came here with a green card. I waited many, many years. And then I couldn't wait until 5 years to get that American passport because I wanted to become a citizen of the United States because this is a great country. And now our politicians forgot that their mom, their ancestor came to this country. This land belongs to the Native American. All of them came from somewhere else. Some of us came on the bottom of the ship as a slave. Some of other people came on top. But we all came from a foreign land. And we made this country, the United States of America. On the back of the immigrants, on the back of the slavery. And now you got the greedy corporate America dictate, like Donald Trump. Do not pass immigration reform, right? So it is a human rights. And when you look at the immigration, there is no equity because they don't deport white people. They deport black and brown people. They shut down, now he want to shut down the border, but it's not going to do nothing, right? Because people find a way to cross that border. But they need to create a system to get people in and to have a path to citizenship. And then they become the United States and then they can vote. Like I became a citizen in 1990. And my first thing I went to register to vote because I wanted to make a difference. And here we are working, paying tax. And now we don't have the same rights. And that's why we need to stop that. And we need to make sure to tell these politicians to get their act together. Because I'm telling you, the Republican and the Democrat, they all eat the same cookie jar. They weren't there for their own pocketbook. They're not there for the people. Because how come you can become a congressperson in 2 years, you're a millionaire? So that is what we need to stop.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Aaron, congratulations on being a first-time voter. It's important for you to vote throughout your whole life, and immigration is one of the most important issues that you are going to face, that we're going to face. First of all, in immigration, we cannot use immigrants as a ploy. We cannot use immigrants as a stunt. We have a governor of Texas putting barbed wire on the border that are killing immigrants. There was a parent with 2 kids that recently died. That's against the Bible and that's against the Constitution. Immigrants are hardworking. Right now, there's actually a deal in the Senate, and the Republicans and the Democrat actually agreed on something for once. But the man with the orange hair is against it. That's wrong. We got to support it. My grandma's an immigrant from Costa Rica. She used to take the bus every day from Harbor Gateway to South Central and work sewing in a sewing company. My mom, she was also a hard worker too. Immigrants are hard worker. Mi mamá y mi abuela eran de Costa Rica y trabajaron mucho para este país. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Congratulations on your becoming a voter. But here's the reality. The state can't do anything about immigration. It's on the federal level. What the state can do is provide benefits for those who are not here legally. Such a case in point, I think California now pays for Medi-Cal. California also allows for immigrants who are not legal to have driver's license. Those are the type of things that can be done on the state level. I'm sorry? Oh, yes, and undocumented. I'm sorry? My whole point is, on the federal level, the state does not impact federal law. Local government does not impact federal law. So the only thing you can do on the state level is basically provide benefits in the form of health, education, and welfare.
Next candidate.
Thank you for that correction. You're undocumented. Congratulations on you being able to vote. Vote Michelle Chambers for State Senate. Hey, I was gonna take advantage of it while I can. Mr. Lyons, I just want to correct you. There is something we can do. Every issue is our problem on any level of government. On a state level, you know, we passed AB 60. I worked on AB 60 that afforded our undocumented residents to obtain driver's license for work. I worked in Willow federal government. Again, I've been doing this for 32 years and worked in every level of government. I helped work on the DACA program with Churla. But you know what we can do? And you know how much it costs to become a citizen? $700. Do you know what we can do as your senator? What I'm going to do is hold these predatory attorneys accountable who've charged our undocumented $3,000 per application and taking their money. That's what we how much? Well, 1,000. Again, the federal makes those numbers, but on a state level, we can hold these attorneys accountable who are predatory and really profitizing off of our undocumented residents. That is something that we can do, and I've seen it happen. As a council member, another thing we can do is make sure that we're not providing ICE with information on our undocumented community members. That's what we can do. Make sure that our sheriff departments are not giving out information, our schools are not giving out information. That is what we can do. And as a matter of fact, I've done that as a councilwoman, ran ICE right out of our schools and our communities. So yeah, there is something we can do because all of our undocumented or documented have a right to live in peace and treated with dignity and respect. So when we talk about, thank you, when we talk about what we can do regarding immigration, again, I've worked in congressional, every federal, every level of government, and I've worked personally on undocumented issues. My niece's father was deported. I see how it upsets families over something he did 30 years ago and got pulled over, and now she's without her, both of them are without their father, deported. We need to look at our deportation laws. If someone has been here for decades, has not committed a crime, has been working, has been unproblematic, has been contributing to our society, and we picked cotton. Okay, everybody, that's true. Everyone, everywhere has been through something. We all got a backstory, but we don't have to live in it today. And as your senator, we won't live in it today. So when we talk about what we can do in the state of California for immigration, not only those that I named, but also making sure that we make sure that our parents and our TIAs have access to translation when going into our schools, when going into our courts, when going into our doctors. That's what we can do, is protect our undocumented residents right now.
Thank you so much. So candidates, I want to remind you all, please, let's talk to the crowd. Let's talk to the people here. And in the interest of time, I'm actually going to speed it up a little bit for the next question because I'm going to give you a minute. Minute to win it. All right. So for the next question, I'm going to have Kiara here give you the question. And 1 minute, 1 minute. Speak to the crowd, speak to the people. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Kiara, and in a minute, what made you decide to run for this seat? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. Why we run is extremely important. I am not a career politician. I have never run before, unlike all of the people you see up here. Why did I just decide to run? I decided to run because I realized that I've overcome a lot of issues that a lot of people are still facing. And I felt a responsibility to show up and to help other people overcome those same issues. And even more, I decided to seek an appointment to a LA County Commission. And I was appointed in 2022 by Supervisor Holly Mitchell. And I'm currently serving this community in the 2nd District. And when I got appointed, my company changed its policy and said that nobody could serve in that way. And I gave up my corporate career to serve. And now I am making that sacrifice to serve you all in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Matthew, ask the question again.
As everybody heard, my name is Matthew. What made you decide to run for this seat?
Thank you. I decided to run at the urging and encouragement of many residents in Carson and actually throughout the 35th Senate District. That's why I decided to run. People know the accomplishments and achievements that happened during my tenure as the mayor of Carson. And not only that, previously during my tenure on a water district. And these residents, neighbors, friends, asked me to please run. And at the last minute, I think I was the last candidate, I decided to run. That's fine. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next, Jose, ask the question.
What made you decide to run for this seat?
All right, thank you for that question. Actually, I decided to run for the seat because I wanted to be the voice of the District 35. Because I felt that we have been neglected a lot. Because if you see in your neighborhoods, right here in Compton, we have been neglected. We have not seen resources come to our community. So I want to make sure that when I go to Sacramento, I'm going to bring resources and money to this community, from Compton to San Pedro to Hawthorne to Gardena, Lawndale, Inglewood, to create good paying jobs, to fight for public education, to fight for health care for all, to fight for housing for all, because it's a human right. And to make sure that we have childcare facility, that childcare subsidy for everybody, for teachers, for parents that are working, for the firefighters, because childcare is very expensive. So make sure that you vote for Alex Montero.
All right. Next candidate, Kara, ask the question again.
What made you decide to run for this seat?
Well, thank you, Kiara, Matthew, and Jose for asking that question. As students, it's very important. And as a teacher, I can tell you, I was raised by a single mom who raised 3 children by herself. And I know what working class families have to go through. That's why I've accepted no corporate money. I want to fight for you. because we're the richest state in the richest country in history. In history, think about that. Housing should be a right. Healthcare should be a right. Education should be a right. So that's why I'm here fighting for you. I'm not taking any corporate money, and I'm going to fight for you and not the corporations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Matthew asked the question once again.
What made you decide to run for this seat?
Advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. But one thing that is missing in this district is the ability to do coalition politics. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about finance, specifically as relates to how do you basically pay for your services. My background is in finance. My whole thing is when I went into finance was there was a organization that talked about three things: food, clothing, and shelter. The problem was how do you bring about the financing for shelter? I was fortunate to be able to work in Sacramento. I was exposed to some financial institutions that led to the whole notion of how do you basically finance and how do you basically underwrite projects.
Thank you so much. Ask the question again.
What made you run for this seat?
Sorry, what made me run for this seat? Good question. I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant. This is my calling. My purpose for standing here before you is to improve your quality of life, you, your family, and your children, and your future. Unlike others, did not jump into the race I was asked to run. I was asked by community members, faith-based organizations, nonprofit organizations, other electeds in Sacramento who trust my leadership to lead you in Sacramento because you can't do it alone. When I go to that floor for a bill for you, I need all my colleagues to vote for me to make sure I bring the resources back home. So it's important to elect someone who already has those relationships and those endorsements and support. But more importantly, the incumbent, currently Senator Steve Bradford, he's selected me to run in his seat. I'll be the first woman to ever ran in his seat. So we talk about why I'm running solely for you. Thank you.
Yeah, one more time. What's the question?
What made you decide to run for this seat?
Thank you for asking that question. The first reason why I really felt in my spirit to run is because I see adults arguing and bickering worse than I see many young people. I see people lying, elected officials. I see people fighting for what's best for them and not what's right for the community. And I think we need real leadership, real people who can do the job and who will do what's right. But the other reason is 3 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with esophagus cancer. And as she's gone through this healing, do you know that if a person has a feeding tube and they stay in the hospital or they go to a rest home, the state will pay for it. If you go home and you help take care of your mom, they don't pay for it. That doesn't make sense. It's cheaper for the state for you to go home and help take care of your mom. Our system is broken and it's not working, and that's why I want to help you. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. So I'm gonna pass it over to Linda for the candidates' closing statements. So now for this one, you do have a little bit extra time. We got 3 minutes. I would prefer 2, just so we can have a little bit more time for you all to actually meet the community and talk to the community, because I know they had a lot of questions. Sadly, we don't have enough time. We can't stay here till 12 o'clock at night because I still got to teach tomorrow. Yeah, that happens. So I'm gonna start over here from Mr. Spencer. No, Mr. Spencer. You want to do? All right. You want to do last? All right. Wonderful. We'll do it. So you'll have 3 minutes. Actually, we would want you to be first, Mr. Spencer. Mr. Spencer, because you've been very patient here waiting to respond. So we'll have you start. Okay. Wonderful. So.
Okay, so we're at the wrap-up part of our night. Our candidates are going to give their closing statements. I want you guys to listen close to what they have to say. I want you to make sure that you can have an informed vote when you get ready to go out and check that ballot. So with that being said, we have Mr. James Spencer.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I didn't register to be here so you could hear me speak. My name is James Spencer. I'm a resident of Inglewood, 31 years. Came to California in 1981. I was in the military for 11 years, United States Marine Corps. I got transferred here in 81. I went to college for free. California was so beautiful. They wanted to send me to Hawaii. I said, I don't want to go to Hawaii. Then I had to finish up a couple classes to get my degree while I was in the military. I could go to Santa Ana College, it was for free. Now I look around, all these people are talking all about this stuff. Ask yourself, how was California when you first came here, besides the racism and all that other stuff? California was beautiful. It's beautiful. Everybody wants to come here. Now look at it. With this leadership that we have now, look all around you. Look all around you. We got homelessness that we never had. We got failed schools that we never had. And you guys are the taxpayers. Your money is going to Sacramento. Sacramento is dishing your money out just like anything. Every parent here should be able to have a school choice, send his kids to any school. And when we talk about money going to the state and the federal, that's your money. That's your money. You are the most powerful people here. You're more powerful than us. How many of us? 8? How many of y'all? Y'all are more powerful if y'all stand together and go to Sacramento and demand. Steve Bradford is our senator. Our school went in this receivership 10 years ago. 10 years ago. They haven't done anything to get our schools out of receivership. I keep trying to tell us, we keep voting, they run around and tell you, vote, vote, vote. But what are you voting for? What are they giving you? Ask yourself this question. What are they giving you for your vote? What are they giving you for your vote? This is what they're giving you. Failed schools. They always tell you, California, I hate, I'm a Republican, so all these guys talking about this and that. Your state is the most richest state, fourth richest state in the country. Your House is all Democrats. The Democrats control the House and the legislature. And guess what? You ain't got nothing. You ain't got nothing. But they're going to tell you right now, give me your vote, and we're going to do this, and Trump's going to do this. And I hate to say this, I'm a non-immigrant. I'm a non-immigrant. And in the system, the laws are broken. Enforce all these laws, all this stuff would be over. Homelessness would be over. Why are we just sitting here and hearing the same thing? They're going to tell you how great they were, and then go look at the 30 years, go look at the 12 years in your area and tell me what you got. And if you want to see it, I got the board over there next door.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
First of all, let's give a big hand to all the students, all the organizations that came here together for this great event. This is only our second debate. I believe we're going to have 3 altogether. So it's very important that you had it over here in the beautiful Pueblo city of Watts. So thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. When my mom and dad were together, I was raised in Slauson. And when they divorced, I was raised by a single mom down in Wilmington. And I went to Gulf Avenue School, public school in Wilmington. I went to Halldale in Harbor Gateway. And my mother, my grandmother taught me the value of hard work, taught me the value of community. And I was able to go to UCLA Law School. And I was able to work as a deputy city attorney, as a Hawthorne School Board member, as a city council member, now as a trustee and as a teacher. I've accepted no corporation donations. I've told you that over and over again. Why is that important? Because our system is broken. Sacramento is broken. We have a system where everybody's taking donations, and when they get there, they're going to be listening to the people that gave them donations. So I'm not going to be there for the corporates. I'm not going to be there for the special interests. I'm going to be there for you. Healthcare is a right. Housing is a right. Education is a right. And don't let them take that away from you. And all your students that are voting now, fight for that. It's going to be a long struggle. I've struggled for it all my life, and you're going to have to continue on with that struggle. So thank you very much. So if you're happy with the way healthcare is, if you're happy with the way housing is, if you're happy with the economy, then go ahead and vote for the people that are supported by the Sacramento politicians and the corporations. But if you want somebody to fight for you, I'm your man, Nilo Michelin. The election is March the 5th. Vote para Nilo Michelin, Michelin comandante. Elecciones marzo 5. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Lamar Lyons, your next senator. I'm running on 5 issues: affordable housing, homelessness, public safety, economic enrichment, and also environmental issues. We have a major environmental problem in this area. It's water and air-based. The pollution from air is a direct result of coming from the port. You have trucks, you have cars, and you have the ships who basically push all the pollution into the inner city. This area is referred to as cancer asthma corridor. Why? Because air quality, water. It's an issue in Compton as it relates to water. It's my understanding that you can't even drink your water. You can't you cannot bathe in your water. So that are issues that I'm concerned about. In regards to education, clearly I was blessed. I was able to go to inner city schools at the UCLA and at Howard Law School. I'm here to advocate for you and also build bridges. Thank you.
Next candidate.
You have to say that. That's right, Roberto. Thank you, and thank you all again to everyone who hosted this event tonight. It's very important that we keep our community engaged. You have a right to fair representation, to make sure that we provide a quality of life to sustain your entire family. I'm Michelle Chambers. With over 32 years of government experience, I've served on every level of government. But more importantly, I served you for 15 straight years consecutively, have never left. The good part about this position and running to represent you is not only learning the needs of this community, but you have someone in your me who knows how to obtain that information, how to obtain the funding resources, how to obtain the access to the resources that we need in this community, and that's what you need. Those are the relationships. With over 80 endorsements, the most in this panel. That is why, which is one of the reasons why I am your senator, because I have the relationships, not only in the community with you all, but also to make things happen in Sacramento. And again, you can't do this by yourself. So I need you to help me help you. I have ran, I've been consistent. I've been a former council member for the city of Compton. And one thing you can say as I answer my phone, I respond, don't I, Mr. Lynch? I respond, I am accessible. But more importantly, again, as I stand here before you, as I've been endorsed by all labor, teachers, nurses, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, who you want in Sacramento is someone who can deliver. We've heard all the things that we need. We know what we need. We see what's going on. We see the issues of homelessness, mental health. I lost my brother to fentanyl in 2021. We have a problem here and we cannot ignore it. As everyone says what we need now, we need doing. As my grandma used to say, do it moving. Remember that? Do it moving. You need someone who's going to go to Sacramento ready to lead, ready to champion for you, ready to deliver and bring back the resources that you need to improve your quality of life, improving our affordable housing, building affordable housing, homelessness, mental health and substance abuse issues we need right here in this community, not this 72 window of in and out. We need job creation and retention. We need affordable childcare. I was a mother who needed childcare assistance. You know what happens now in California? If you make $1 over that 19,000 a year, you lose food stamps, you lose childcare, you lose everything. And it's a hamster wheel of oppression. As your senator, I'm going to drop those caps, increase Medicare reimbursements to ensure we retain our doctors here in our community. That's why we're leaving, because we don't pay fast enough. As your senator, we're going to make sure we retain affordable health care. We're also going to help our seniors. They should never have to choose between medicine and rent. As your senator, I am your advocate. I am here for you. Vote Michelle Chambers for California State Senate. Go to michelleforcalifornia.com. Ballots drop February 5th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you for being here tonight, Pastor Stafford, who I don't see at this moment. Thank you for your kindness of not only opening your doors for this forum, but opening your doors to everyone, because obviously people wouldn't have come here tonight if they didn't know you and the work of this ministry. We were asked to close, and I'm going to close, I remember hearing an old politician say, "Are you better today than you were yesterday? Are you better today than you were a week ago, a year ago, 2 years ago?" I think most of us can answer that question, yes. Do we feel safer? Do we have enough, if we're getting ready to retire, do we have enough money to really live, to be able to pay, our mortgages, to pay the food, to go on an occasional vacation? Do we have enough health benefits that cover the things that we need, dental, vision, if a major catastrophe happens? Are we better in the jobs that we have? Are they safe? Are we better, really? I look at Aaron and all these young people. Are you better? You heard us say, growing up how it was going to be, but is it really what we told you it was going to be? No. We're not better. We need to be better. And so what I come to you tonight, I have endorsements. I have an education. I have a bachelor's. I have a master's. But you know what? That's not going to make you better, right? So tonight, I'm asking you not for someone else's endorsement. I need your endorsement. I need you guys on Saturday when you talk about people who spoke tonight. I need for you to say, you know what, Laura, I felt like she cared about me and she's going to try. And what I have found in the years that I have worked, that people have said, you know what, she works hard, she works for us, and she delivers for us. So tonight, as I close, what I want to say is thank you for coming. Thank you for trying your best. You've done your best. Now it's time for us to do our best. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm running, because I know we can do better. And I know you're counting on people like me to do better. Okay? So you have a good evening. I love you. I thank you for your time. And I look forward to working for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here. I'm 34 years old. I'm the youngest person up here. And I think that matters because right now in California, 40% of our voters are under the age of 40. And we don't see that reflected in our leadership. But that matters not just to the younger folks, that matters to all of us, because that means the sustainability of our system is hanging in the balance. It's time for more equitable representation. It's time to see younger folks with great ideas, with energy in our government. We look at what's going on federally, we don't have the opportunities for younger folks to be reflected in our leadership. And you have an opportunity today, you have an opportunity in this election to vote differently and to lift up the next generation of leadership. But most importantly, I want to talk about the mission again. Why I'm running. The mission of the campaign is to transform your lives and to renew a sense of love and collective responsibility in society through the values of transparency, equity, and accountability. I'm the only one here who's even talked about what my values, the values that I stand for. That's a problem. Okay? Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I think, we all have done great work. I've come alongside the community. I see some community members from West Athens and Westmont, and I helped clear out shipping containers that came into our neighborhood, right? But I didn't do it by myself. It's not me, I did it with the community, alongside the community. And I think the real question here is, who can you count on? How do you know you can trust any of us? I encourage each of you all to do your research on every single person on this stage, including myself. Do your research, because people can talk a good game, but you got to be able to discern, to have discernment. Use your brain. Think for yourselves. That's what we all need. Now, like I said, I'm the only one here who has shared what I'm standing for, those transparency, equity, and accountability. And those are the things that you can take to the bank of what I'm going to take with me to Sacramento to fight for the things that you all deserve. And I have the lived experiences that reflect the greatest issues. I've been homeless twice. I've overcome childhood poverty. These are still issues, and those are the things that we need reflected in our leadership in Sacramento. I look forward to earning your vote. Jennifer Trishelle Marie Williams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your questions. And I will be around, and I'll stick around until the last question is asked of me. I'm running, as I said, based on my successes, my achievements. And that's what you want as a voter. There's a reason the community asked me to get into the race, because of my achievements, my accomplishments. And again, it's just the fact, as the mayor of Carson, I went to the AQMD multiple times, passed resolutions as a city council to install the first air quality monitoring stations in Carson. We have 2 refineries, the largest refinery west of the Mississippi, and we didn't have any air quality monitoring stations in Carson. When I looked around, I saw that the refinery in El Segundo, Chevron, paid the city of El Segundo $10 million every year. The refinery in Torrance gave the city of Torrance $10 million plus or minus every year. City in the Valero in Wilmington gave the city of LA $10 million. They didn't invest it in Wilmington. They stole it from Wilmington and invested it somewhere else in the city. Carson had 2 refineries, still has 2. The largest one west of the Mississippi, and the city of Carson was only getting a few $100,000. So what did I do? And it is an I, because I did this. I put on the agenda to get our council to pass a resolution to put an initiative on the ballot to tax the oil refineries. $10 million. Now Carson's finances are the envy of any municipality in LA County because they're making money. It's just the fact. I led the campaign to do that. I raised the money from the community. I did that. Is the oil company supporting my campaign? Are they contributing me? Do I have endorsements in Sacramento? If you're going to vote for someone with the most endorsements, that's not me. If you're going to vote for someone who has raised the most money, that's not me. But if you're going to vote for somebody who's a proven advocate, who's proven and shown that he's a fighter for who he represents, the entire community, that is me. My name is Albert Robles. I'm a candidate for the state senate, and I approve this message. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, last candidate.
All right. Again, thank you very, very much for being here tonight. It was a pleasure to come to Compton and especially be right here on the House of God. I want to thank, all the organizers and the partners. Thank you for your service because you do the service every day on the street. And I understand that because I was an organizer, I nonprofit, so I know the work is done with a little money. So let me tell you, I'm running, but at the same time, I want to do this is for you because I don't have to be a senator because I'm going to continue to do the work every day, regardless if I got elected or not. Okay? But the fundamental is, the reason that I decided to run is because I've been there in the community, on the streets, not just in Hawthorne, but in South Bay. Okay, deliver every day resources and service to the people, and special to the underserved communities, special my sisters and brothers of color. Okay, so when we talk about who can deliver, I have to tell you, I deliver. I don't talk the talk. Okay, I have done low-income housing. I have built preschool with public and private partnerships to bring free preschool to 3 and 4-year-olds. Bring tiny homes to Hawthorne and to some other areas in South Bay to give the unhoused a transition home and give them a job trade. That's why we partner with the South Bay WIP to create vocational job for the unhoused individual. Teach them how to become a plumber, a mechanic, electrician. So then when we transition them to the permanent housing, they have a job. They're not going to be on the street again. Okay? So think about it, because like I said, I'm going to Sacramento for you, and I'm going to come back with resources, because that is what I have done in every single moment that I have represent my city. I belong to the South Bay COG, 16 cities. I made a motion to give Jim Butt in Inglewood $20 million for his people mover, but with condition that those jobs are going to go to Inglewood residents and the South Bay residents. I'm part of the Clean Power Alliance, 33 cities and 2 counties, Ventura and LA County, to bring clean and renewable energy to our cities. Hawthorne, we are a low-income community, but we have 100% green renewable energy. And that's what we need in these other communities. And that's what we need to transform these trucks into more, hydrogen and biomedical, and stop the diesel to pollute our community. So vote Alex Montero.
Thank you so much. Ms. Linda, take it away.
Okay, everybody, I want to say we're almost coming to the closing of our night. You have these fine candidates. You got a lot of information so you can stay informed. And we're going to close this out with, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Our candidates are going to go next door. So if you have any more questions, they will be eager to help you and answer them. And the questions that did not get asked today that you took your time out to write on the card, we will be giving them to the candidates so that we will be a follow-up answer to your questions. Now we're going to close out with Dr. Michelle Burton. She's the lovely Dr. Michelle Burton.
Thank you. I just want to thank you, Linda. Thank you, Roberto. Thank our students. I was so jazzed to see you all participating, using your voices, taking up space. I want to thank all of the folks who attended today. Thank you for giving these constituents some really, really important issues to think about. Thank you for encouraging them to do their research. Thank you for giving them choices and options about who they think here this evening might just be the right person to represent their interests and the interests of their family. March 5th is election day. Come here to vote. We are voting here at Bethel Sola. Please take a moment. This is everywhere. There's a QR code to fill out our little survey. We want to know what you liked about today and how we can do it better. We want to continue to bring these types of activities to the community of Watts and South LA so that you can participate in advocating for making your communities places where you can thrive and you can see your children and your grandchildren do better than we have, right? Do better. That's our goal. Thank you all so much. Please hang out like they said. I'm sure folks would love to talk to you some more.